What's up, basketball world? It's the one and only legend of winning, aka Low, and the trading deadline is in full effect. We already knew some players were going to be moved, but honestly, for what they're getting traded for is pretty crazy. So first, let's talk about Portland, because I do believe the trades that's going on out there will be much more impactful to the larger landscape. So if you're unaware, CJ McCollum is finally being moved. He's being moved to the New Orleans Pelicans, as well as Larry Nance Jr. and Tony Snell. And in return, the Blazers are receiving, get this, Josh Hart, Thomas Satoransky, Nikhil Walker-Anderson, nice up-and-coming young player. Another player I've never heard of a day in my life. A heavily protected first-round pick, this year's first-round pick, heavily protected, and 2 second-round picks. Now, again, a lot to unpack here. First and foremost, man, I would have thought that there would have been a lot more to get for CJ McCollum. Maybe I'm always evaluating these players incorrectly, but McCollum is a quality player, borderline all-star player, giving you 20 points on respectable shooting splits. But the problem with him, obviously, two things is A, is that he doesn't play defense, and B, he takes up a lot of the salary cap. This is the reason why a lot of people thought that the Blazers are going to move in a different direction, because even though there was a lot of, on-the-fly maneuvering throughout the Damian Lillard years, especially since LaMarcus Aldridge decided to pivot and go to the Spurs, I do believe that they might have been doing their best, quite frankly, for a small market team. And CJ, again, who was overpaid, I do believe that, he was a quality player alongside Damian Lillard. However, it was fairly obvious what this team's ceiling was. First round, second round, at best conference finals appearance, but this is not a team that was going to consistently make deep postseason runs, and this was not a team that was going to make a finals appearance and definitely not win a championship with Dame and CJ being your best two players, which is why a lot of people over the years have just came to the conclusion that it's time to break up this duo, even though you're getting a lot on the offensive end from the two, but you're not getting that much defensively. However, if this has kind of been the value for CJ McCollum, and we can't really argue it too much so because they got what they got for CJ, then I could understand why Portland has been holding on to CJ this long, because I definitely would have been trying to figure out what's the best way to maximize this team's potential with Dame and CJ as the face of the franchises, instead of just trading for some miscellaneous pieces in only one draft pick. I definitely would have been trying my hardest to try to figure out what more I could get out of CJ. But again, that's not even really the biggest problem for me, because I can't really debate the true value of CJ McCollum in the trading market. I mean, it is true that's his value because that's what they got for him. But what I am concerned with is the direction that Portland is going into, because it's all over the place. And honestly, it doesn't really surprise me too much so, because this is an organization that had a brain trust led by Neil O'Shea over the past several years in Damian Lillard's career. And just this offseason, they decided to pivot in a different direction, fired Terry Stotts, brought in Chauncey Billups as the new head coach, and also fired Neil O'Shea, brought in an interim GM. And when things like that normally happen, a lot of the time, effort, energy, and assets that were given away to put the team in the position that they were before, a lot of that just goes to the wayside, because now there's a new identity or a new idea in the direction that the organization should be going into. And so, no, it doesn't really surprise me that CJ's been traded, but when you step back and look at what this team has done really over the past year, it's pretty concerning, and this kind of piggybacks off of what they did just 4 days ago, because if you're unaware, the Portland Trail Blazers traded Norman Powell and Robert Covington to the Clippers, and the only thing that they really received in return is Keon Johnson, who has some potential. Here's the full context of the trade. The Clippers are trading Eric Bledsoe, Justice Winslow, Keon Johnson, and a future second-round pick to the Trailblazers for Norman Powell and Robert Covington. Again, getting younger, getting a little bit more defensive-oriented. These are not decisions that were being made out in Portland for the past couple of years, as Portland was more of a offensive-leaning, more established player type of organization. And now again, because new GM, new design, new path, we're now getting a new roster essentially, which is really, really troubling, because how much that has gone into this roster and the construction of the players that is on the team so far. So again, just to get an even broader scope, think about this. In the last year, the Portland Trail Blazers have traded away Derrick Jones Jr., Larry Nance Jr., Gary Trent Jr., another young player that they could have really kept if they wanted to move in this direction, Norman Powell, CJ McCollum, and Robert Covington, And the only noteworthy players that they received in return, Eric Bledsoe, Josh Hart, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Justice Winslow, Keon Johnson. Like, none of that is really moving the needle whatsoever for anyone. And honestly, this right here kind of just smells like it's going to be a rebuild, a massive blow up, until I saw this Woj tweet, and it's really just confusing me because it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Woj tweets, Portland's plan is to fully reshape roster around Damian Lillard now. Portland created a $21 million trade exception today, potentially $60 million in salary cap space this summer, multiple draft picks and assets via Pelicans and Clippers trade. Plan is to pursue high-end talent now, not retreat. Now, that all sounds great in theory, but dog, let's be honest. Who's going to Portland? There's no one who is going to Portland. There's no one who's going to make the decision that I'm going to sign up and play with the Trailblazers, even if Damian Lillard is out there. I mean, Portland is a small market team. There's a reason why you as a franchise had to overpay CJ McCollum. There's a reason why, as an organization, you have not been able to obtain the assets to build around Dame when the roster was better constructed than it is right now. There is a reason why you're in the situation you're at right now, and it's because you have not been able to entice other star players to come join the roster. So why talk about $60 million in salary cap space? That's ridiculous. That's not going to benefit this team at all because they're Portland. It's the Portland Trailblazers, bro. Nobody wants to play for them at all. But here's the thing that makes things even worse. Bro, go look at the free agency class this upcoming summer. Who are y'all getting? Who? James Harden? Kyrie? Like, who? What player are you getting that makes you significantly better? Bradley Beal? Now, James Harden would move the needle, to be fair, and even Kyrie Irving a bit, but it will put you in the same situation where you were before, just better offensively, but horrible defensively, and really lacking a lot of depth. That doesn't make any sense, so I don't even understand it. I even went to try to go find, probably there's some forwards out there, some quality high-end forwards, because that's what they said. Plan is to pursue high-end talent now. High-end forwards, high-end talented forwards? No, none of them are in free agency. How about high-end talented big men? No, none of them are free agency either. And actually, when I went to go look at the list of free agents who will be available in the summer, Yusuf Nurkic will actually be a free agent this year, so you could lose someone else. This does not make any sense. Dame, I'm talking to you, dog. I'm talking to you, bro. You see how animated I am. Bro, leave, bro. Just leave. Leave. There's no need to keep fighting this fight. It does not make any sense. The organization is moving nowhere. I'm begging you. I don't want to see you waste your last years of your prime and the last years of your career playing for a franchise that's not giving you a fair opportunity to win a championship, because I want to see you win a championship, bro. I want to see you win. Everybody wants to see you win, bro. Now, moving on to the other side of the trade, shout out to the New Orleans Pelicans, because not only did they fleece and finesse the Blazers, but honestly, I like what they're building. I like what they're bringing to the table. CJ McCollum, though he is slightly overpaid, $30 million is a bit much, I will admit that. But what he brings to the table is exactly what this Pelican teams need. They need as much versatility and floor spacing on the perimeter so they can aid Zion and build the proper team around a player who might have some offensive limitations with his inability to create and make shots outside of the paint. So I like CJ McCollum. It makes a lot of sense. I would have wished CJ played probably for a team that is competing for a playoff positioning possibly, but you know, I still believe for the future and the bigger picture, this trade makes a lot of sense for the Pelicans. And also, who knows, maybe the Pelicans do find themselves in the play-in tournament, maybe even in the playoffs. I don't think people really realize this, but Brandon Ingram has been essentially carrying that franchise to a near 500 record when he is playing. Adding CJ to the bunch definitely helps that a lot. The only concern and question I have for this team is, bro, why is it that y'all let Lonzo walk in free agency? That still to this day does not make any sense to me. Because if you're willing to receive CJ McCollum, who, let's just admit it, let's call a spade, he is overpaid. If you're willing to bring on CJ McCollum, this whole pushback of paying Lonzo, I don't see why that was a concern. I mean, because right now you could have a team that features Lonzo, CJ, Brandon Ingram and Zion with Valanciunas, like that's a really good team. And it's unfortunate that that's not the direction that they went into, but nevertheless, I love CJ on this roster. It just makes a lot of sense. Shout out to the Pelicans for fleecing the Portland Trailblazers. And Portland, I don't know if y'all trying to save face. I don't know what y'all are talking about, but this whole thing about freeing up salary cap and trade exceptions for a team that has never been an attractive market for any major star, and we're going into a free agency class that isn't that deep in talent, and even the most talented players are all guards. When you're trying to build around another guard who's also offensively oriented like all the other guards, like, spare me, bro. It doesn't make any sense. Trade Dame, free Dame, you know, let's get that trending, bro. Please save him. But hey, please let me know your thoughts on the whole situation, Portland, Damian Lillard, the Pelicans, and this whole idea of getting free agents, because I don't believe that. Cap, this Pacers and Sacramento trade just happened, so I want to make sure I read upon it a little bit more before I just jump into it. So hey, make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you can be updated when I upload that video, because I definitely feel like I'm going to be violating a few people in that video. But until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.